what are the neural correlates of consciousness, or NCC? So the NCC is, according to Quest for Consciousness glossary, the minimal set of neural mechanisms or events jointly sufficient for specific conscious percept or experience. I'll explain what it means in more detail, but basically, the neuron or events that is sufficient to explain all these sufficient particular specific conscious percept or experience. That's the NCC. Okay. And why do we need this kind of concept? That's the question. So in week 5, we encountered a couple of questions, like these super fundamental questions, such as why do we not see the image or experience upside down, because it's flipped in the retina and also projected onto V1, and if the V1 is generating conscious experience, then why do we not experience something like this? This is super fundamental, and I don't know what to say. And then also, why do we not see image in a distorted way, like this retinal cortical magnification? So this type of the fundamental question is a very difficult thing in a way, like in the case of physics, why the world is operating like this, or space is distributed like this, or in the case of biology, why the world of the plants and insects is like we see in the current situation. So this kind of super big theory is very difficult to address on its own. However, the key here is that the relationship between the outside world and our conscious experience and the neural activities in the brain, if you can distill a little bit, then the question starts to become more concrete and then maybe possible to address. So this is one schematic kind of figure from my collaborator, Masafumi Oizumi. And his proposed way is to think about this way. So you have a sensory input in the brain, the outside of the brain, and that could be like light wavelengths and so on. And then there's a brain activity. And then we have a subjective conscious experience. And the previous, or most of the neuroscientific approach is to delineate the relationship between these two only. Like how this sensory stimulus gets encoded into retina and also LGN and then V1 and so on. And then so to try to kind of identify this equation, like stimulus and also response, how does it relate? That's a sort of the conventional neuroscience. On the other hand, what we are trying to do is to first characterize what the brain response is, and then conscious experience of seeing the apple can be here, and then try to see how this response, brain response generates this conscious experience or relates to this. And this part is a mathematical theory of consciousness. And as long as this one and this one is the same, then basically two of the approach will be the same. And how to dissociate that is going to be a critical question. So we can try to find the correlation between the consciousness and the brain in the following way. So since 1990s, search for the neural correlates of consciousness started, and this is the sort of the starting point of the idea, according to Francis Crick, who discovered DNA in 1994. It seems probable, however, that at any one moment, some active neuronal processes in your head correlate with the consciousness, while others do not. What are the differences between them? So here, the key insight here is that first, if you can operationalize what your conscious experience is, right? What you are experiencing right now. That's the at any moment time. And then finding the active neurons, neuronal processes that correlated with them. And then others are most likely irrelevant for your current conscious experience. And then to address the question of what are the differences between them in terms of connectivity or biophysics or location or activity pattern or many different kind of possible things are there. By filtering out these differences and then trying to find the most strongest correlation is a relatively easy way to make an empirical progress. That's what he was suggesting. Okay. So by now, this kind of idea has been pushed over roughly like 30 years, and the refinement of the concept has been happening. One is that the full neural correlates of consciousness, full NCC, and idea is that the neural substrate supporting experience in general, irrespective of its specific content. For example, going into the coma and then recover into the vegetative persistent vegetative states to minimally conscious to fully awake across brain injury or general anesthesia, light anesthesia to deep anesthesia and so on. All these things, regardless of what you exactly are experiencing specifically, there are certain states of consciousness or level of consciousness that correlates with this overall experience. And this full neural correlates of consciousness is to including all these. This is the substrate for supporting this experience as a whole. And then more closely related to the original definition of the NCC is this content-specific neural correlates of consciousness. The neural substrate supporting a particular content of experience, such as face or color or motion, whether seen, dreamt, or imagined. So regardless of the mode or global experiential structure, if you experience one particular things like a dog, then there should be some kind of neural substrate that supports that particular content of experience. That's a content-specific neural NCC. And then the next question is how can we design experience to find the NCC? The key is there are three keys. One is that distinguishing three types of the neural correlates. And the first is consciousness, the right side of the always me figure, right? What you are experiencing. And then sensory input, the left side of the always me figure. And then motor outputs. So this is a bit tricky with respect to the consciousness, but the behavior, right? Handwriting or button press or verbal report or something like that. If we can dissociate that from consciousness, then that counts as a very strong method. But anyway, sensor and also motor side has to be there, and then consciousness is another one. Let's distinguish three types of things first, and then manipulate them in a controlled manner. That's a key for the science. One idea is while fixing one, examining the relation between the rest. How can we do it? That comes in the next video. And then another way is trying to vary only one while fixing the rest. Can we do it? That's also another video, okay? So then all of these things needs to be done while you're measuring the neural activity. Otherwise, you can't find the NCC, neural correlates of consciousness. So this is the rough schema. So first of all, you first distinguish between these three types of neural correlates. Neural correlates of consciousness, NCC, and the neural correlates of stimulation, which is defined by this physical input, roughly speaking, like neural activity that is reflected in the retina or B1 and so on. And then neural correlates of the behavior that governs the behavior output. If this is like a reflex, like motor action, then that's most likely like motor cortex or spinal cord and so on. And then the key tricky kind of question is that whether verbal report or behavioral report is exactly the same as NCC, or there is some kind of leftover or filtered out component at the time of the report. That's the question, but we'll leave it here. Okay, So distinguishing three types of the neural correlates and at the same time measuring the neural activity that is reflected by this wavy line here, either EEG or fMRI or whatever, or neural recording, exact neural recording. And then manipulate them in a controlled manner, one by one, or fixing two while varying the same for one of them. And as I said, that the verbal or behavioral reports belonging to behaviors is a thorny question. And to address that, we may need some other kind of paradigm that I reviewed once. And the most important thing is likely to be the no report paradigm. Okay. So in terms of the summary, the NCC has been defined and refined over the years, and the empirical studies are possible to design and to actually have been conducted. And the further refinements of experiments and possibly are definitely possible. For example, by no report paradigm, but it can come in later weeks.